In today's video, I want to talk to you guys about rocks.
It's a rock.
Yeah, we're going to talk about rocks in today's video because to me, it is one of the most important aspects of bass fishing that so many anglers overlook. The type and color of rock that you're fishing can make the difference between catching fish and not. And it's something that I've learned over years and years of fishing and I've had a ton of experience with, and that is really paying attention to what that rock type is and what that rock color is to put fish into the boat. So let me tell you a little story real quick. It's been many years ago. I was fishing in a kayak tournament. I'd run all over the lake. I'd tried every different type of bank angle. I'd fished wood, I'd fished docks, I'd fished floating docks, I'd fished gravel, I'd fished boulders, I had fished, that kind of like limestoney stuff that lays on top of each other, and I just could not get a bite. And then I pulled up to this slate rock bank, and this slate rock had like this kind of dark, almost dark brown chocolate color to it. And you could literally see the heat rising off of the rock that was out of the water. And as I pulled up to there, I looked on my graph and I had seen that the water temperatures went from literally 55, 56 degrees to almost 60 degrees on this one particular bank. And a lot of that had to do with the rock type and the rock color. That slate lays out in big slabs and it has that real dark, almost chocolate brown color to it, which absorbs a lot more light, sucks a lot more heat in, and heats up a lot faster than the rest of the rocks around it. And I went down about 150 to 200 yard stretch of bank with that type of rock and ended up catching my entire limit for that tournament. Turned around, went back up that bank, and then coaled up a couple times and ended up doing really well in that kayak tournament. And that was just one of those key moments that stood out for me that really showed me how important rock type and rock color can be. Now, it doesn't always have to be that particular type of rock or that particular color of rock, because I've seen so many times when they're on a bunch of different kinds of rock. When you go up north like to Michigan, fishing in Michigan, one of the things you'll notice is that a lot of the bottom up there in the Great Lakes and a lot of those glacier lakes are sand, and you'll have these vast stretches of sand with a couple big boulders right in the middle of it, and those couple boulders will end up holding fish because there's nothing else that will hold those fish. And so rock is so important because the rock type, first of all, will dictate what those fish are going to do around that rock. And so in my experience, when we're early in the spring, the water's warming up, and you've got those temperatures, they've been cold, and now everything's kind of starting to come to life and warm up. Those darker color, kind of more flat style rocks tend to fish a little bit better than everything else. And the biggest reason being it's just a big flat area that those bass can move up there. They can sun, they can get warm. The bait fish come up there, the bluegill come up there. They all do the same thing. They move up there and they just get warm and then they start to eat. And a lot of the times that type of rock will be really close to a more kind of gravelly or kind of pebbly style rock where those fish can just easily transition over there when the water temperatures get right and start to spawn. And that's the next thing. More gravel, more pebbly, small type of rock that bass can fan out and move around tend to hold bass when we move into the spawning period and kind of into that post-spawn period. And the reason for that post-spawn period, I think, is just because as soon as they get done, they're not going to move a super big distance. They kind of just move off away from their beds and they'll sit in those areas and want to eat before they make the big move to go to their full post-spawn area. And then when we get into that kind of post-spawn time frame is when I start to kind of fish more of that big boulder rock or veins of rock that run out into deep water. Because that's one thing that I've noticed is during the spawn and post-spawn, what you'll have a big vein of rock, and as that vein of rock gets shallower and shallower and shallower and it gets towards the shallow water, that rock size will start to drop and drop and drop, and you'll go from big boulders to small pebbles. And the main reason for that is just erosion. As boats drive by, as big wakeboard boats drive by, as waves just hit those rocks and hit those rocks over years and years, tens of years, hundreds of years, and even in some cases, thousands of years with some of these glacial lakes, that rock size starts to go down. And so what you'll have is like the perfect highway for a bass to live on. It has big boulder rock to live on post-spawn out in deep water. It's got kind of that chunkier, slaty rock in the middle that it can warm up on pre-spawn and get ready to stage up on, and then move up shallow and get in that pebble rock and to make a bed. And so make sure you're paying attention to the type of rock as well as the color of rock. Like I said in my story, that dark chocolate kind of brown rock heated up faster than other rock styles did, and vice versa when you're in the summertime and you're looking for fish that are living around rocks or living around boulders. A lot of that big white rock will reflect a lot more light, and those bass will kind of want to live in the nooks and crannies and things like that under it, as well as rock that make kind of big, you know, hard angles and things like that. Normally the bigger, more boulder rock that is lighter, that has those bigger, harder angles, it allows those fish to kind of get up under the shadows. It reflects a lot of that light. It cools that water down around those areas, and those fish want to live there. And so just keep that in mind. It's something that year after year, I mean, as long as I fish, making sure that I'm paying attention to the type of rock and color of rock that I'm fishing around can make the difference between putting fish in the boat or not. And if you want to see me fishing some fish around some warming up rock, some pebble rock where they're all pre-spawn, in fact, click this video, it's popping up right here.